An unidentified flying object lands on Earth. A mysterious alien and his robotic defender emerge. A message of warning for all mankind. All this can only mean one thing. We're comparing the day the Earth stood still on this episode of Retro versus Remake.
Sorry, I was just doing like John Belushi like faces you're doing. I don't know why. I was like, this will be a good idea.
I'm cool with that. I'm Reggie Parker.
And I'm Dan Bulick. Welcome to another episode of Retro versus Remake. This is the series where we compare movies and their remakes. Join us as we answer the question, should this remake exist? Today's films are The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Let me try this. Fun juice.
I'm having Coors as well. Oh, very good.
Nice. You know, when the mountains are blue, Klaatu might be in them.
There you go.
The Day the Earth Stood Still, 1951, starring Michael Rennie, Patricia Neal, Hugh Marlowe, Sam Jaffe, Billy Gray, Francis Bavier, and Locke Martin. Directed by Robert Wise. Screenplay by Edmund H. North. Based on a 1940 science fiction short story, Farewell to the Master by Harry Bates. And our music is by Bernard Herrmann. The Day the Earth Stood Still, 2008, starring Keanu Reeves, Jennifer Connelly, Jaden Smith, John Cleese, John Hamm, Kathy Bates, Kyle Chandler, Robert Knepper, and James Hong. Directed by Scott Derrickson. Screenplay by David Scarpa. Music by Timothy Williams, who did more like the orchestration, and Tyler Bates, who did the composing. So I guess this is a section where we do first experience with either film. I know I'm kind of the point man today, but I'll just start with mine. I watched The Day the Earth Stood Still in high school in a film studies class. So I was very familiar with the film and some of the different visual tricks that they did, some of just the way that they sort of moved this genre. I mean, the genre was well worn, but like this one has its own sort of twist to it, especially with the Gort character. So I was familiar with the product, and I've also seen the 2008 film because I was already a fan of the original film. And I'm pretty sure I did not see that in theaters, but I did see it, at least on like HBO or something like that when it came out. And I'm a Keanu Reeves fan. I like Jennifer Connelly. What can go
wrong? I'm new to this whole thing. I had never seen either film. I know it's my suggestion, but I was familiar with the original. I think I had seen the most famous clip in the movie of Klaatu coming out of the spaceship and then just getting shot unprovoked. I'm familiar with that, and that's all I knew about the movie. And I knew there was a remake because I remember seeing the trailer when it came out, and I remember going, "Oh, I'm not going to see that." So here I am, fixing that part of my life and watching it now. So, did I like it? We'll find out.
Mysteries, space mysteries. Well, before we find out whether or not you liked it, we'll break down the synopsis. An unidentified flying object lands in a major U.S. city. Which one? This landing garners the attention of the whole world and prompts a rapid response by the U.S. government and military forces. An alien emerges from the UFO and is shot, like you mentioned, immediately and wounded by the military. A tall robot emerges from the UFO and quickly disables the Army's weapons. The injured alien is taken by the Army to have his wounds treated and to be interrogated. His robot counterpart is left behind with the ship. During the interrogation, the alien reveals his name is Klaatu. He and other extraterrestrials have been observing human behavior from afar, and he was sent to deliver a message to the leader of Earth's nations. The U.S. government refuses to let him meet up with other world leaders and intends to keep Klaatu and his mission classified. Klaatu escapes from his captors and takes on an alias to blend in with the humans. He gets help from a young widow, Helen Benson, and her son. Klaatu learns more about the human race while spending time with Helen and her child, and they even introduce him to Professor Barnhart, an astrophysicist who also shows Klaatu that humans do have the capability to be non-confrontational and reasonable. Go figure. Aha from the peanut gallery. That's good. Meanwhile, the military has captured the robot counterpart, who's revealed to be named Gort, and plans to try and examine the robot. Events lead to Gort escaping the military facility, and both Gort and Klaatu show a display of their advanced technological ability. This display is a warning to humanity that if humans continue down a destructive pathway, they will be destroyed. Klaatu and Gort return to their ship and depart from Earth. It is now up to humanity to determine its fate. That's kind of what happens in both films.
Yes, very, very similar plots.
Yeah, similar plots, but very different films in terms of execution. And I guess one of the best places to start is with your star. So, in 1951, Klaatu is played by Michael Rennie. And in 2008, Keanu Reeves plays the iconic Klaatu. So, kind of jumping in to probably what's the most important part of it is that awesome spacesuit Michael Rennie is wearing in the 51 film. I mean, the what was that, glitter sequin? I don't know what that was, but it was shiny, and I thought his helmet looked kind of dumb, but that was fun.
I am leaving soon, and you will forgive me if I speak bluntly.
That, getting away from sort of the joking nature of it, that Klaatu's message to me is just so much more clear. It's more obvious why he's there. He literally says why he's there. And there's not a lot of ambiguity to his mission. And, even literally his first words were, "I come in peace," with a message. And some guy's like, "Oh, shit."
Oh, God, I got the jitters today. I guess I'll just shoot this guy who said he comes in peace.
It's like, I'm shocked. I thought that was a clear difference versus 2008, where I think they try to really build out this alien kind of backstory. Like we get Keanu Reeves in 1924 in Antarctica.
Right.
For reasons. He finds a spear, he touches the spear, his hand has a wound on it, taking a sample. Because if you're going to clone humans, Keanu Reeves is a damn good place to start.
That's a damn good place to start. But I was thinking about that scene. It was like completely unnecessary. You really don't need to have that long opening where he's just in the ice and then he sees a sphere and then takes his DNA, because it's like, just have Klaatu just look human. I mean, that's what they did in the original film. He just takes off the suit and he just looks like a random dude. He says he's like 70 years old and he's significantly more healthy than the average human, but he's, for all intents and purposes, he's pretty much just like a human in the original film. The remake does something that's actually pretty interesting. He's kind of comes out, he's not in a spacesuit necessarily. It's sort of like, I guess, like kind of like placenta.
Yeah.
That's how they describe it. So he doesn't look human at all, but he's, he's sort of humanoid shaped. But then after he gets shot and is taken to the hospital, this kind of outer layer is sort of just falls off of him, and then it's revealed to be a human. And then later they explain that he's actually born into Earth. That way he's able to survive our atmosphere. And I thought that was a pretty interesting way of going about it.
Yeah.
And if you're doing that, if he's just being born, just have him look like Keanu Reeves. You don't need this backstory of like, well, he had to get the DNA from this guy in the 1920s. That's why it looks like this guy. It's like, just have him be born. I would have totally bought that. I thought it was completely unnecessary to show him in the 1920s in the ice.
Yeah, completely unnecessary. And given what we learned later about kind of how much interaction these aliens have had with humans, even more unnecessary, like,
yeah.
Like you already kind of had a template, we find out. So it's like, what's the point? And like you mentioned, like, it is a really cool kind of alien backstory. Like, I'm not used to seeing placenta aliens born.
Yeah.
I am used to slimy Keanu Reeves because of The Matrix. But,
yeah. I'm glad you brought that up because yes, it's kind of his wheelhouse. Is what he does. You know,
Yeah,
he's born.
slimy fetal position Keanu Reeves is a trope at this point. And yeah, like I thought that was cool because then you know, there's like the salve that gets used sort of like by both of them. And in the original movie, it's kind of like just unknown alien technology. In this remake, you know, again, a bit of a stretch, but it's like placenta, it's like healing, it sustains life and stuff like that. So like it's interesting that like that goop got him through the journey through space and allows him to like heal himself and others. Really kind of cool take on the alien genre that I'm not used to seeing.
Yeah, and I think it was important for a 2008 film to do that because maybe in the 50s you would have just accepted, okay, this alien just looks human. I feel like they felt like there was this onus on them to like explain like why does he look human? Why does he speak our language? They explained that he kind of hacked the satellite so he knows like our languages and just like everything about humanity. So they go a little bit out of their way to kind of give him this plausible backstory, but it's not too much where they're like explaining it for like 20 minutes. It's just kind of like here and there, and it's like, okay, I'm picking up pieces here and there. So, you know, to make it acceptable that an alien looks completely human, I think they did a good job, and I don't think they needed to do that part in the beginning in the ice.
Nah. It's like, all right, look, I like Keanu Reeves in a beard, you know, in the snow as much as everybody else. But yeah, it's just kind of a distraction, right? Like it doesn't further the plot. Like it doesn't give us really more information about the spheres. It doesn't give us more information about how long they've been there because they do that in a different way, like I described. So unnecessary scene that kind of steps on, like you mentioned, this actually pretty cool origin story. You know, like the original film, like you mentioned, there's a lot of gaps in the story. You know, he's an extraterrestrial, but he's very human-like. But I guess the technology is part of the reason why he's able to survive the trip and has like a longer life, like you mentioned, or like lifespan. And they kind of just like did the like almost weird backstory, like, yeah, we just like watch TV and stuff. Like I've just been kind of learning what humans do from a distance. So that's why I know your language. And it's like, okay, guy. So, you know, I do appreciate that this remake attempts to build out its characters more. And we just get a lot more from this Klaatu in terms of interaction. But I do go back to the original Klaatu being just so much more clear. And I think Reeves Klaatu, well, because of his mission, he would actually get a lot of pushback anyway. But like, it's just really ambiguous why he's there versus the original, where it's like, okay, look, guys, you guys are crazy. Now we've noticed that you have nuclear weapons now, and just be careful where you're pointing those. Like that. That's kind of the message versus Keanu Reeves. Like, I'm here to save Earth. It's like, what's that mean?
Yeah, the message is definitely clear in the original. You know, he kind of keeps saying like, "Oh, I'm not going to tell you. I need to tell, you know, the world leaders in a group. I'm not going to just tell one person. It's too much for one person." It's like, well, you are kind of telling people like, you know, I gotta save this planet. I gotta stop you guys before you just become too destructive. So he has that message in the original film as opposed to Keanu, and it's still like a little bit blurry. So Keanu's there because he needs to save Earth, but I think he's also there to determine if humans are worth saving at the same time. So then he decides they're not worth saving, and then for reasons he decides they are worth saving, but it comes at a price. I mean, this price, this horrible price, which isn't really that horrible as he painted it out to be. So then he does save humanity, and that's it. It's really muddy.
It is muddy because we have presumably this sort of extraterrestrial experience where like you have been observing humans for a long time. It's like it's almost like what more do you need to see, right? Like we what do you want to do here, man? Like make a choice, Klaatu.
Seriously, I mean, you got shot as soon as you got out of the ship. You didn't do anything. I mean,
yeah,
that's come on, man.
That's a pretty good story. And I mean, like, Um, weirdly enough, like in 2008, because of the response, because we get more sort of like motivation for why um people are kind of freaking out about the alien, it actually feels more kind of like impotent and childish, right? Like they're just like, big scary alien man, we gotta get him. And like it's just weird that like the 1950s basically did the same thing, but like I don't know, felt more mature in their response to the alien being on Earth. Um, so I guess we could be making a statement about the U.S. government and militarization and stuff like that, but it's just
Right.
like that's the only option you guys have, the military option. Like after you've seen,
Gort.
I want to say Groot. Once you've seen Gort, and what he's capable of, at a certain point, you might say, "Hey, look, I got a lot of questions. Maybe you at least play along the alien. Yeah, no, we're gonna take you to the UN. Like try a different tactic versus like let's shoot everything that's moving." And I don't know. Like I felt like in the 1950s, there were times where like they understood. They're like, "All right, this is out of our control. What do you want, buddy?" That just never really happens in 2008 until it's like the last moment you could try a different tactic, and it's a little flimsy, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
Sort of like Keanu's plot twos flip flopping. It's very flimsy and strange.
Yeah, it is very flimsy. I think the original film has the benefit, if you can call it the benefit, just think of where we were in history, 1951, the arms race, Cold War is very much in play. So there is that, looming threat of like nuclear attack. It's like, who's going to strike first, us or them? So that's in the back of people's minds. And that's sort of the backdrop. Why Klaatu's there? He's like, well, I'm realizing you guys are developing this atomic power, so I got to make sure you guys chill the fuck out because I don't care if you destroy each other, but that starts going outer space, then we got a problem. So the 50s have the benefit of that. 2008, nuclear threat is still a problem, but it's not like we're not to the level like the Cold War was.
Yeah.
So it's like, where do you make the focus then? It's just, well, humans are just bad, so we gotta stop them. It's very weak compared to what they had in the original film.
Yeah, talking about the original film, there's a scene where they're like in the boarding house, and one of the women there is like, and you know who it is, and someone's like, well, they wouldn't come in flying saucers. You're like, yeah, you don't know that. So like it is a focus. It's like nuclear weapons are the problem, right? Easy, simple. In this remake, is it nuclear weapons? I thought, like, is this a climate change thing? Is this like what it like? I don't know what. Hey, Klaatu, could you tell us what we're doing wrong? Maybe we can fix it. And he was like, no, I don't know. It doesn't seem like you guys can fix it. This little kid's kind of cool, so maybe you guys can fix it. That guy's a dick. So like, you know what? it's like, bro, all this advanced technology, just like I said, make a choice, man. Like, balls in your court. You already know why you're here. You really know why you're here because you met with someone else that we're going to talk about. And it's like, what's the holdup? I mean, I want humanity to continue existing, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't like flip floppers.
Yeah. So for some advanced alien race, he definitely doesn't know how to make up his mind. Seems to be, very primitive when it comes to that. You think he'd be like already on top of it and just have his mind made up, but he's always like on the fence about things. And it's just, I don't know. I like a decisive alien who knows what they're here for, and then they kind of just follow through with that, which is what the Klaatu in the original film does. I also want to get into a little bit of their personalities because they are very different personality-wise. I guess we'll start with the original Klaatu, Mr. Carpenter, as he is affectionately called by the normal people. He's, for lack of a better term, he's pretty much just like a normal dude, right? Yeah. He's just very polite, a little bit awkward, a little creepy at times, especially by today's standards. But, for all intents and purposes, just pretty much a normal dude. He's very polite. He gets along with the kid pretty well. And he seems to genuinely be interested and curious about humanity and, any redeeming factors that we have. So, what you get from him is you don't get really a sense of, like, danger or like any threat from him. It's just like, okay, this is just kind of like an observer is what I got a sense of from him. I didn't think he was really going to do anything because he just seems so normal and, you know, pretty much nice.
Yeah.
Keanu Reeves, on the other hand, kind of great casting for what they did with him because he's pretty much like a blank slate. You can't read this guy for shit, man. There's no emotion in his voice at all. And yeah, there's just that question, like, what is he here for? What does he want? Because I can't read him. I have no idea what he wants.
Are you currently in a seated position?
Yes,
Do you feel pain?
my body does.
Are you human?
My body is.
And that's what they decided to do with the Klaatu. So Keanu Reeves is great for that because man is just blank face the whole time. So, you know, they did well with what they had in the remake.
Totally. But, you know, I kind of prefer, you know, this sort of Mr. Alien Goes to Washington approach, you know, like
Yep.
just kind of like the day in the life. There's not a lot of, you know, they're looking for him, but there's not the same intensity that we get in the remake, which is like, as soon as he's out, he's basically on the run the whole time. So, like, there's not a lot of time to observe what we do versus the original film, which kind of, like you mentioned, lets Mr. Carpenter walk around. Hey, what's this? That's the Washington Monument. That's the Lincoln Memorial. I was like, oh, that's cool. And he's like, what's this? Oh, this is Arlington Cemetery, where my father is buried. The son we're going to talk about. But like, that works, right? He's like, oh wow,
Yeah.
like most of the people that died here died of war. He's like, we don't have those anymore. Like, interesting, right? And to your point, like that curiosity comes out, and there's a nice little filling in of some backstory. You know, again, it's loose, but like some backstory by having him interact with the kid. And I think that, you know, that classic sort of storytelling device of foreign person, stranger, alien, and a child who's giving him just this like nice comes in
Alien
peace.
right here.
There's like a child who's going to give you this kind of like unfiltered, like really just I'm drawing a blank on the word, but like just an unbiased
Right.
view of the world. It worked really well in that original film.
Yeah, I agree with you on that part. Like, you know, picking a child to be sort of your guide to this foreign planet, it's a great choice because there's not really an agenda. Yeah, it is like pure, unadulterated. There's nothing, but there's no agenda, I guess, of the kid. He's honestly just going around thinking he's showing this nice man, you know, around Washington, and that's what he's doing, and it works. And the interaction between, you know, Mr. Carpenter and the little kid, it's not bad. I kind of like their back and forth. Like, he's genuinely curious. Like, well, tell me about this, Bobby. Oh, that's a great man. What Mr. Lincoln said that. So I really like that interaction, and it is a nice twist on the whole alien genre because, you know, aliens come, they want to just attack. That's usually it, but this is kind of this, it's almost like a fish out of water thing. Well, what's going on here? This is so weird, this planet. So it's kind of charming watching the two of them just go around and see all the different sites.
It is, and like there's these like fun moments where it's like, I've got $2 away, I got a pocket full of diamonds. Is that worth anything? It's like,
My mom says I'm not supposed to steal, but I'll take those diamonds. Thank you.
It's not stealing if you pay for them, kid. Yeah, and like it is cool because like we get to observe Klaatu kind of acting naturally. And again, like you said, a fish out of water, but like because he's with a kid, he doesn't have to explain a bunch of stuff to the kid. The kid's just like, yeah, you're a guy, I'm a guy, you know, let's hang out, right? The Keanu Reeves side of it though is, you know, because his message is ambiguous, because we don't know why he's there, because he's immediately being hunted down. We don't get those moments. Like his observation of humanity is sort of tainted by the fact that, like, basically in a more or less 24-hour timeline, you are wanted by the FBI. People are very suspicious of you. They know what you look like. You know, so, you know, there's ambiguity as to what Mr. Carpenter looks like in the original, so he's able to just kind of be free to walk.
He's able to go back to the spaceship and explain how the spaceship works and get laughed at by people. That's how nobody knows what he looks like.
That is so funny. and yeah, I mean, again, it's just a different choice. The I think they were going for more of like an action-oriented film, which we definitely got. But you do lose that type of storytelling. And if you're going to cast a kid, which they did, and we're going to talk about that, the kid really gets to shine in the original film in a way that Jaden doesn't necessarily get a chance to. But yeah, it's a choice, and for what they, like you mentioned, for what they're going for, the choice works. I just prefer just the clearness of Klaatu in the original film. It's just really obvious why he's there and what he's doing.
Yeah, I like that, and I do, like I said, I like the twist on the alien coming to Earth. He's not necessarily there to destroy. Yeah, we saw Gort do some things, and we know he has the capacity to, you know, cause havoc and violence and destruction. But just to have him not do any of that and just, you know, be the observer, I really liked that in the original, and I am sad that we didn't really get that in the remake. We just got this, you know, like I said, this blank slate, this, you know, very dry delivery from Keanu, which is works, but I definitely prefer what they did in the original film.
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, like Michael Rennie comes across, you know, maybe as sort of like childlike in his nature, but like he comes across as charming, right? Like you mentioned, he's super polite. You're kind of rooting for him the whole time, which is cool. You know, we're rooting for Keanu, but like you said, he is this blank alien slate. It's kind of like a very like Spock-like, you know, in his approach to being an alien. And because we don't get a lot of emoting from him, even in these dangerous settings that he's in, I don't know how he feels about, you know, how do you feel about being shot, man? How do you feel about finding out your friend had been around for a while? You know, like, I don't know how he feels about anything that's happening. I don't know how he feels about humanity, and he doesn't know how he feels about humanity. So, yeah, you have to take this journey with him without the advantage of knowing what he's going through. And that's, you know, it's a choice. It from a casting perspective, it works really well, like you mentioned, but I don't know. I prefer kind of humanized characters. So, you know, slight edge for me to the original just because of the story itself. But, you know, Keanu, of course, like was great at what he did. It just wasn't my preference.
Agreed. Should we go on to our female lead now?
Absolutely.
We have Patricia Neal as Helen Benson, and then Jennifer Connelly as Helen Benson. Two pretty different characters. I guess we'll just start with. I'll start with the remake because it's more clear with Jennifer Connelly's background. She has like some type of scientific background.
Leave all your cell phones and cameras here. Helen.
Thought it was important to have you part of this team. Don't be afraid.
Afraid of what?
So her coming into the picture is out of necessity because the government is trying to gather all these experts in different scientific fields, and she's an expert in her field. What is her field exactly? I don't remember. It doesn't matter. All you need to know is, hey, it's Jennifer Connelly. She's a scientist, and she's going to interact with our alien a lot. So that's why she's brought in to the picture, as opposed to Patricia Neal.
Good. Latu, Barada, Nikto. Latu, Barada, Nikto.
Well, it's completely random happenstance. Like we mentioned that Klaatu was kind of just going around Earth, so he decides that he's just going to rent this apartment, and one of the families he runs into is Mrs. Benson and her son, and he doesn't really even interact with the mom until like much later in the film. He interacts with the son a lot more. Right. So that's how she is kind of thrown into the mix.
Yeah, yeah. The Jennifer Connelly character, and I had to look it up after the fact, was an astrophysicist.
Like I said, though, it really doesn't matter. It's just science. She does something with science, and that's what she's there for.
Yeah. And actually, I'm even wrong about that. So that shows how little that is. An astrobiologist from Princeton University. But yeah, I think that this is where the remake starts to kind of get points for me, because like you mentioned, the Helen Benson in the original, played by Patricia Neal, not really interacting with Klaatu, not really in the movie that much. She's a skeptical person, but not nearly as skeptical as as one of the male leads that's in the film. I think it's
Mr. Stevens.
yeah, Mr. Stevens, who who's more of like, I don't trust anything. But she's like a sympathetic and empathetic character. And I think that does kind of help kind of stack the deck for humanity a little bit more, because she's like, she's also polite and like, I have no reason to suspect this guy of anything. So he's cool by me. I'll even let him babysit Bobby. It's like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Like Jennifer Connelly is just kind of thrust into the movie, like you said, out of necessity. She's just kind of sitting there, just like, man, get in the car. What?
Yeah,
you're in the car. Where are we going? I don't know.
Don't ask me any questions, but you told me you would answer the questions when I got in the car. What the fuck?
Yeah. And it's like, really the only reason we know it's important. Look, the highway's empty. It's like, oh, so this is important. Like, cool. You would think that there's another astrobiologist available to the Army, but you know what? Maybe she's the best. I don't know that. They don't really say. She might just be the best damn astrobiologist that ever lived. And she plays that similar role of, she's not really with the government, so she's not like immediately distrustful of the alien. She is more like scientific. It's funny, like basically everyone that's kind of science in this movie like took the Hippocratic Oath, basically. Like, we're not going to interrogate this alien. That's unethical. So
because there's kind of this backdrop, like everybody in the movie who's the government is kind of bad, and just the scientists, well, they're serving humanity, so they're good. So that's happening in the remake.
But now you bring up an excellent point. Like it is, it's kind of one of my gripes with the movie too. It is almost like a caricature of, like you said, military bad, scientists good. Humans like military bad, science humans kind of good. It in a movie that is playing with this very loose ethics of humanity. Like, I can also understand why Klaatu is confused, because like, you meet these types of people, they're just gonna shoot you. You meet these types of people, they might do math problems with you. I don't know who you trust. But Connolly is she's good. She's like really good in the film. She does a lot of, like you said, the emoting for us. And that initial choice that she makes in the film, again, talking about like she actually interacts with Klaatu, is like they want her to basically drug him so that they can sedate him, interrogate him and stuff like that. And she like switches the vials out. So like, we now know, good guy.
Yeah.
There's that great scene where she sticks him with the syringe. She's like, run, and it's cool to have a character that we can sort of rely on in terms of narration, because there's not really many people in the film that are like reliable at kind of furthering the story without us having to question their motives. So I think she was really good with what she was tasked to do.
Yeah, I mean, she's like I said, the good guy scientist. She's able to convey that by not following the government's orders, not sedating him, giving him some other injection, telling him to run, helping him when he's on the run, all while having to deal with her stepson, who's giving her a lot of shit for no reason. We'll get to him.
Yeah. We will.
And she's Jennifer Connelly. I mean, I love Jennifer Connelly. She's great in everything she does, and
Even
she's
the
able
Hulk.
to. Even Hulk, she's one of the highlights of Hulk, my friend. Okay, but she's she's fine, but she doesn't really have much to do. She's kind of just like Klaatu's escort. Just taking him from point A to point B. She gets kidnapped at one point and then kind of reunited. I guess her arc's supposed to be with the stepson, but for reasons I don't really give a shit about that relationship.
Correct.
So, Jennifer Connelly's great in what she does, but it's not the greatest role, I guess, that she's played. Going back to Mrs. Benson in the original film, again, just a much smaller role
Mhm.
than we have in the remake. And like I said, she doesn't really come into play till maybe past the halfway point because she mostly kind of hands off Klaatu to her son Bobby. And then it isn't until her boyfriend starts to get suspicious of Mr. Carpenter that she starts to go, well, I don't know if we need to be like this bad. I kind of want to see what this guy has to say. And
Yeah.
then, she's able to turn and be on his side. And, she does a fine job. And I don't know. It's just a really small role, but she's able to just do enough to
Yeah.
help Klaatu out.
Yeah. I think that's kind of the definition. Like the original film, it's a small role, not very consequential till, like you mentioned, really more towards the end of the film. Versus Connolly, who's constantly in the movie, but to your point, serves a role of just kind of like you mentioned, an escort. She doesn't have a lot of information about what's going on, so she's just as much in the dark as we are. And as much as I like Jennifer Connelly, it's a pretty generic character, right? Like lady scientist. That's that's
Lady good guy scientist.
right. The stepson thing does add another element to it, but as we mentioned, I don't know if it's an element that we necessarily enjoyed. So I mean, we might as well start talking about the kid.
Okay, I'll just say this though: the original Mrs. Benson does save humanity because she's given specific, explicit directions from Klaatu. Like, if anything happens to me, you better say these fucking words, or else humanity is gonna be in shit. Klaatu Barada Nikto, which was only said once in the remake, and I was a little disappointed that it wasn't said again at the end. But Jennifer Connelly's Mrs. Benson, she doesn't really have that in the remake. She's just kind of, I guess her interactions with her stepson changed Keanu Reeves' mind, and that saves humanity. So she doesn't directly save humanity; she kind of indirectly saves it, which I don't know. I like Mrs. Benson going Klaatu Barada Nikto and saving. Cool. That's great. It's cheesy as hell, but it worked on me, so I'll take it.
Good. And if you like the Klaatu Barada Nikto line, and you were upset that it only happened once in the remake, at least it happened once. Keanu Reeves had to lobby for them to say it.
Really?
Yeah. They were like, it was not in the script. He's like, what are you doing?
Yeah. He's like, do you know the source material? Come on.
Yeah.
Wow.
And because I guess they thought it was kind of cheesy, but like, hey, that's why we're here. We, alien cheese, man.
Yeah.
And when he does it, he says it, and they also play it in reverse, and that's how you get that alien-y Klaatu Barada Nikto. So little Klaatu.
Good on Keanu then, because it's one of the parts of the remake I liked is hearing that line.
Yeah, we would be spending a lot of time talking about it not being in the film if it wasn't there. So, like you said, good on him. Now the kid.
Now the kids.
The kid who didn't have the same name, which was annoying.
Yeah, I don't know why, but all right, sure.
No clue. So we've got Billy Gray, who plays Bobby Benson in the 1951 film. And then in 2008, we have Jaden Smith as Jacob Benson, who in this movie, he's 8 and he's Helen's stepson versus Bobby, who is just her son.
Yep.
The stepson element is a source of tension. To a point I think you were trying to make, it is an unnecessary source of tension, and it makes Jaden Smith's character really unlikable.
Yes.
Like, he's done this role before of like the kind of bratty kid. Actually, he's an alumni of Retro versus Remake.
That's right. Second episode.
Just as damn annoying in the Karate Kid. And it's like I've seen the stuff that I like him in, but like he's just giving her a really hard time.
Yeah.
And I understand it, like the character's father has died in like the last year, but like she didn't do that. And taking care of you for a year. And
like she's the only person taking care of you now that your father's gone. You're gonna give her shit all the time? What the hell, man?
And then like this idea of like, well, you're stuck with me. It's like, no, she's not. She could go drop you off in foster care, bro. Like, what are you doing, man? It's just, again, when you have a character you like, in Jennifer Connelly, you don't like when someone's treating her like shit in the movie, even if it is an 8-year-old kid. You know, like it's not fun.
No, not at all. Yeah, it's because the movie did a good job at establishing her as the good guy, right? And then you're giving her this antagonist and this little boy, and like we don't know anything about him other than he's just pissy every time he interacts with her.
Right.
So yeah, we're immediately not gonna like him and continue to not like him because all you do is make him give her shit.
And dime them out to the feds. That was so annoying.
What the hell, man? Fucking Klaatu's doing some math equations over here, and you're fucking calling the cops on him? What the fuck,
good
man?
hunting scene, you know, it was so annoying because I'm like, again, I don't mind there being like action in the film and stuff like that, but like now we've arbitrarily created a scenario where the government's involved in it because the kid was on the phone. You know, honestly, if you got a kid that annoying, keep an eye on him at all times, because you know. Another scene tied to that, they're running away from these helicopters. Like there's a military envoy chasing them. He's like, "Hey, down here, he's over here. I got the alien." It's like, shut up. He immediately gets Jennifer Connelly snatched up.
Yeah.
I don't.
At which point he pulls a total 180 and says, "Help me, alien. Please, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to sell you. You got to help me now because I'm completely helpless now." It's like, fuck you, man. You just sold me out and your mom got captured. It's all your fault. You figure this shit out, not me.
Yeah. So it's I think that it's a missed opportunity to make them so confrontational. I guess, like you mentioned, that was like to have an arc to sort of replace the Klaatu, Barado, Nikto stuff. I just don't like it. It's like I don't think Keanu Reeves is reading me as someone that's like observing these two humans, figuring out what it is that they, you know, that they need each other. Like it just like a guy watching some kid being a dick for an hour, you know. It's like I feel like that was points away from humanity.
Honestly, like the whole, I guess, thing that turns the relationship around and ultimately Keanu Reeves Klaatu's decision is like they're at the cemetery of the kid's dad and then he's crying because he misses his dad. He tried to bring Klaatu there because Klaatu can bring people back to life. He's like, "Can you bring him back to life?" He's like, "You're a dick. No, I'm not gonna." No, he says, he just says, "Nah, some things are just impossible for me." And then Jennifer Connelly shows up, and then he's like, "I'm sad about my dad." She's like, "I'm sad about your dad too." And then he's like, "What? You are? Oh shit! I guess you're an okay stepmom.
Yeah.
I guess we should hug." And then Keanu Reeves is like, "Oh, that's heartwarming. So I'm not gonna destroy humanity." It's so weak.
It's so weak.
So weak.
So weak. It's like you're not the only one that lost someone. It's like, yeah, man. Like what? Like we haven't resolved this in a year. Like,
yeah, seriously, man.
You know, maybe
it's bad. You know, it's a really big missed opportunity because instead of making me care about this kid, I don't care about him and I kind of want him out of the picture. What they should have done is like made him have a really close connection with Jennifer Connelly, and that way I'm worried about his safety and I'm worried about what that means for Jennifer Connelly's character if anything happens to the little kid. But I'm not cared about any of that because this kid sucks.
Yeah. And it's like, I get it. She's like ultra responsible and stuff like that. And, you know, there's a scene where he's like, "No, I'll just stay by myself." He's like, "You can't stay by yourself." But you're right. Like, you just flip it, right? So, like, when the military first comes and grabs her, instead of him being like, "I don't care," if he's like, "Wait, like, take me with you," he's like, "I can't." When you hand him off to Navy, completely different film, completely different character. And someone I think we could rally behind. Like, he's 8. Why is he so confrontational? You know, like, why, you know, if you play him up like 13, 14, you can do that and give him sort of like our body character from our other alien movie.
War of the Worlds.
You can give him like a "I want to fight" mentality, but like when you're 8, we know you can't fight. I'm not sure why you're fighting. You're in this like insane scenario and you're just acting like nothing's happening. Like you're not hanging out with an alien. You're just uninterested in the alien. They're more interested in fighting with your stepmom. It's so weird, dude. So weird.
Yeah, I don't know if you could tell. I didn't like the Jacob character in the remake, but you know what I did like? I did like Bobby in the original film.
Cool kid.
Cool kid. You know, this Bobby, just very unassuming, very polite child. You know, sees this Mr. Carpenter and he starts to take a shine to him. Mr. Carpenter, like, you know, treats him pretty respectfully, and has like an abundance of information that he's just teaching Bobby, and he starts to really like grow affectionate for this alien guy, and you could totally buy it. Like I totally bought like, oh yeah, this kid really likes this guy because this guy's kind of, like we said, he's charming, he's very polite, he's nice, he's all these great things. He doesn't have a father figure, so yeah, he's gonna be attached to this Mr. Carpenter, and then he's gonna be, Mr. Carpenter's guide through the world of humanity and just how we are as a people. And I thought it was a great decision to have that innocent kid, show this alien like, or try to show him like kind of the best of humanity. It worked on me.
And he's very protective of Klaatu, which is a plus. He doesn't just tell all the information. And even when he tries to, sometimes you get a little bit of humor. He's like, "Yeah, we were out there last night. We saw Gort out there by the spaceship," and I was like, "That didn't happen." He's like, "Why are your shoes wet?" It's like, "Yeah, the grass was wet." Like, I love that scene. I just like his like childlike innocence, and like he there's no BS in what he's doing. He is just who he is, and that's a little kid, and it's okay to let little kids be little kids in a movie instead of making them just like fighting everybody tooth and nail. And Bobby just like I mentioned, the fact that he's guiding him, the fact that he's protecting him, the fact that he's attached to him. I'm now hoping that Klaatu is protected and close, and that a good outcome happens for him. There's not really a reason for me to feel that way for Keanu Reeves' character in the remake, and I don't know, like even late in the film, I don't know if I want Keanu Reeves' mission to succeed or fail. Like I don't know how to feel about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's because the mission's unclear, and then it's clearly the kid doesn't really give a shit about him, and then like Jennifer Connelly is just being a good scientist. Yeah, so it is really unclear. Like, should you be rooting for Klaatu in the remake as opposed to the original? Like you said, we got the kid rooting for him, and then Klaatu in general is just a really nice. It seems like a genuine guy, alien guy, whatever. So yeah, I like what they did with the Bobby and Klaatu. Like Bobby's better, the little kid, and then just that relationship that he has with Klaatu. It's a really strong part of that original film, and to have it completely missing from the remake, I think was a misstep.
I mean, like literally, I would so much rather like if we took the tension down a little bit, and because the remake takes place in New York versus like DC in the original. I'd love to go see those guys like go eat a hot dog. And walk around the city, Keanu Reeves wearing like a Yankees hat.
Exactly.
I think I would like to see that film. That'd be kind of cool. But like I said, they chose sort of action over connection. And that again, that's fine. But because the film is a bit muddy, and I think they're trying to do too much, like with the Jaden's character, Jacob. With Jacob, he's too busy. There's too much going on over there. You got other characters that get introduced, and you got to figure out what's going on over there. 1950 is a very straightforward story, and an effectively straightforward story. Guy comes in peace. Humanity does not accept that. He walks amongst the people, finds out more about humans, especially through the eyes of this child. And you've got a kid who's like actively helping save humanity versus a kid who's actively putting all of our lives at risk for his petty squabble with his stepmother. I know which one I prefer.
Yeah. No, I'm just thinking about what you said, man. Yeah, I would love that film with just Keanu Reeves and the kid and just in New York, I was kind of thinking like Terminator 2-esque, with Edward Furlong showing Arnold the way, just little kids showing him the ways. I think that it opens it up, for some great humorous moments in the remake that we definitely don't have. So it would have been an interesting way to go with the remake, but like you said, they did go with the more action-oriented stuff, which we'll definitely talk about when we talk about the endings, I'm sure.
Right. So those are sort of our mainline characters. There is another sort of important, consistent character that we should talk about, and that is In the 1951 film, we have Sam Jaffe as Professor Jacob Barnhart.
The result is we live in peace.
And in 2008, we have John Cleese as Professor Carl Barnhart.
So it was only when your world was threatened with destruction that you became what you are now.
Real smart guys. In the original film, basically, to Bobby's best assumption, Professor Barnhart is the greatest man on Earth.
And good for Bobby, because I bet kids today couldn't name the smartest scientist on Earth.
Yeah. And you know what? In many ways, he was right. So that was kind of cool that Bobby, again, a character that we like, introduces to another character, immediately gives that character credibility. Hey, Bobby says he's smart. Bobby's like a child, but all right. And you get this similar sequence of Klaatu saying, math on the chalkboard, and he solves that. This is John Cleese, who I think I really like his portrayal. I know we don't get a lot of him, but he does just read as scientific professor, and like when him and Keanu are both like,
yeah, that's a fun little moment.
It's a cool. It's one of my favorite scenes in the movie, which is crazy because the movie got aliens. And again, it's the part where the humans and the aliens are connected. Is what I like. So that's what I liked about the first film. It's what I liked about this remake. And that moment of just them solving that equation is it actually might be my favorite scene. And that's weird to say.
Yeah. John Cleese, he's a great actor. And he's not in the film very long. It's his only scene. When he's kind of at his home with Klaatu, and then it is a great moment. The two of them just kind of nerding out on the board, just like do this, and they're not even talking; they just keep writing. It's great. It is a fantastic scene. And honestly, when I'm thinking about it now, like John Cleese, the other thing he does is he tries to convince Keanu like humanity is worth saving. He's like, well, when did you realize that you guys had to change everything and save your own race? Right. And he's like, well, when this happened on our planet, well, like we're kind of there now, so maybe rethink this whole destruction of humanity idea. And so like I would put like more of the onus on John Cleese's character, that he's the one that really convinced Keanu, not necessarily Jennifer Connelly and that bratty kid, that humanity's worth a damn saving,
Yeah. Like in the original, Barnhart's there, one, because, he is a man of reason and is reasonable and will listen to him and, advocate for him. But like Cleese, you're right. He, in this short amount of time, he's like, connecting the logic dots for this alien. It's like, what's wrong about humans? You guys are destructive. It's like, well, what about you guys? Well, when we had this scenario, when we were on the brink of destruction, we changed. And like he said, he's like, yeah, that's us. Please don't kill us all. And like, I just like that sequence. And you're right. I think it is more on John Cleese's character. At that point, it's pretty bleak for humanity. We had just gotten out of a scene with another character that's like, kind of do what you want. And, I'm trying to remember how I think they're just hanging out with Barnhart, just kind of like more like refuge, really, while they're on the.
Well, in the original film?
In the remake.
In the remake. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I honestly think it's just like kind of a break in the actions. Like we need to hide somewhere. Talk to this guy. He's pretty smart.
Yeah.
Let's go here. And then who fucks it up? Fucking Jacob. Jacob.
Jacob, man. No, the original, I know, like Bobby, takes him to him, and it's so funny when like the maid is like gonna race. He's like, hey,
yeah, he peeks back at, you don't want to erase that, trust me. It's like, oh, Mr. Carpenter.
Yeah, and again, people that are actively trying to destroy humanity. I don't know what all that smart stuff is.
She's the there. Jacob of the original film.
Oh, could you imagine? But John Cleese, very impactful. Puts a lot of the movie into perspective. Like things start to kind of, form at this point of like, what the hell is even happening? So, might be my favorite character in the remake.
And he does pretty good job. Sam Jaffe in the original. He's important. He's in more scenes for sure. He's the reason that Klaatu decides to show this sort of display of power, dramatic but not destructive.
Yeah.
And that display of power is to turn off all electricity for about a half an hour. Now, I reread the Wikipedia for this. Does it say outright in the film that he didn't turn off airplanes or hospitals? Because I don't remember that in the film, but it was in the Wikipedia synopsis.
I don't remember that, but I'm sure it might have been discussed because, like, well, you don't.
Yeah. Okay, because that comes into play for the remake's ending. I just wanted to say it. So more than likely, he didn't turn off airplanes and hospitals, but he did, do this display of power, and then that's why humanity or the military is going to be after him, because it had two effects. It was supposed to get the scientists, all the great minds, to gather together to hear Klaatu's message, but also had this adverse effect of the military now going, we got to stop this guy because look what he can do. So that's all on our Professor Barnhart, and he does show up with the scientists at the end and hear Klaatu's message. So he does have more of a role in the original film, but he still does a great job. John Cleese's Barnhart still does a pretty good job because, like you said, he definitely puts things in perspective and gives us a direction in that remake.
Like you mentioned, Jaffe's contribution. You're right. You can't understate that because that's the title. The day the Earth stood still. He was like, "Show us what you can do," and he made the Earth stand still. Big moment, and like you mentioned, towards the ending, like bringing the great minds together to hear Klaatu's message unobstructed, very consequential. So Jaffe's good. I prefer Cleese because what he's able to do in such a small amount of time in the film. If you don't have that, I don't know, right? Like I don't know what
humanity's doomed. We're doomed. It's gonna be on that Jacob kid. Oh god.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. Like fun shenanigans at a chalkboard. Existential questions about humanity and what it means to be on the brink of destruction. All very neatly packed into this John Cleese scene, and I really thought it was cool. But both characters were great. I prefer Cleese.
I'll give it a push. I'll say they're both pretty good. I don't know. I can't really choose.
That's fair. I think just overall impact. I think that's fair for you to say.
I do like one line he had in the original film. He's like, "You're putting a lot of faith into having me here." He's like, "It's not really faith, so much just curiosity." I like that. That's curiosity or a faith line. I don't know. It just resonated with me, that line. It's pretty cool.
That was good stuff, man. I think that this is where I want to kind of jump into some of the notable characters that are like a big deviation from the original film.
Notable,
right? So there's John Hamm. No, I'm just kidding. John Hamm is like such an afterthought.
Is that pre-Mad Men? I don't even know.
I think so because I remember when I watched it, I don't think I knew who John Hamm was. So I was like, who's this guy? Like it was just an actor, right? So I think this was pre-Mad Men, if I'm remembering that right. It might be right there.
Yeah, it might be right, like on the cusp of Mad Men. But it's early Mad Men or before Mad Men. They very young John Hamm here.
Yeah, and since we're talking about him, that we're going to talk about him much.
No, because he doesn't do much.
Yeah, so John Hamm plays Michael Granier, who's basically a NASA official, which I did not know until I looked at the Wikipedia.
I didn't know either. Honestly, you could have just told me another scientist who knows Jennifer Connelly. Yeah. I was been like, yep, that's his character, all right.
Yep, and he's a scientist, which puts him in that default category of good guy. He more or less fills that role by driving them over to with Klaatu to the spaceship towards the end of the film. Is he all right? He looked like he was all right.
He definitely died. No, he definitely died. He died a good guy, so scientists are the good guys.
Yeah. So John Hamm, handsome bastard, noble, dead. Good arc. So that's a character we hardly need to talk about. We have Kathy Bates playing Regina Jackson in the 2008 film. And she is the United States Secretary of Defense. She gets a lot of play because when the aliens come, they separate the vice president and the president. They're in undisclosed locations. So she's kind of in charge. And she's doing a bang-up job of it. Apparently Bates was only like on set for 2 weeks. And like she basically had people like acting out lines so that she knew what the hell was going on. So Kathy Bates was just as confused about what was going on in the film as we were. She plays like this classic, unbending, forgivable military like war hawk that's just like blow up the alien, can't trust him, gotta capture him, and it's just like, yo, take it down a notch. Kathy, relax, it's an alien, we're okay, you know. But that's her role. Her role is to be like the kind of not mustache for him, but might as well be villain throughout the film. And well, she does that well. I don't know why she's so gung-ho about it, but you know, she's doing it.
She does that well. In addition to her being like, stop the alien, it's also a very like, well, this is America, we're not going to share you with the rest of the world because we have you. So you're our asset. We're not going to put the other world leaders there because you want to talk to anybody. You're going to talk to our president and that's it,
Yeah.
So it's sort of this pushback against Klaatu, whose whole thing is like, I need to tell everybody and not just one dude. And she's the one saying, no, you're just telling one dude. So they don't like each other.
Yeah.
And I don't really remember what happens to her character at the end of the film.
It's just like she's just, like I said, she's unbending. She's unwilling to compromise or change throughout the film until she is more or less forced to by the circumstances of, if I don't change, it's over. So, like a foil. She's there to be a foil, to be the villain, and she handles that well. And like there's an arc, I guess, but it's like no credit given for this arc because she's forced to stop being an asshole.
Yeah, like at one point, like because Jennifer Connelly's captured, and then Jennifer Connelly's like, "Can you at least see my son? Like, we're pretty much fucked at this point. I don't think there's any point in me being here. Let me go see my son." And Kathy Bates is like, "Okay." Yeah. That's kind of her arc. Like, all right, I guess we don't need to be dicks the whole time.
Yeah, it's like I clearly have failed. I've screwed up this entire situation. The fate of all of humanity rested in my hands, and I dropped that ball so hard. Like there was no point in which she had done anything to further mankind's survival. So good on Kathy Bates' character. I mean, this Regina Jackson character is just she's, I don't know, made her Hillary Clinton. She's, Secretary of Defense, and she wants to be in charge. She shouldn't be. That's the character. And there's plenty of other characters on both sides of these films that are very unimportant. So I think the last kind of important character in the remake is we have James Hong, who plays Mr. Wu.
I think he passed away recently too.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
I like him too. I think he's also a Retro versus Remake alumni. I think
he's been in like so many movies. Now I got to see when he passed away.
I'm gonna hit the wiki.
Yeah. Oh no, maybe he didn't die. Oh Jesus Christ! Never mind.
Killed James Hong.
I know, I just killed him. God damn Mandela effect on me.
Yeah.
Maybe I just saw an article about like how he's been in like a ridiculous amount of films and like nobody knows who he is because he's such a good character actor.
He's such a good character actor. If I recall, he's in The In-Laws. I think he's the pilot. I could be wrong about that.
You could be right about that. I'm about to look at his filmography, but it's a goddamn encyclopedia. So I was watching So I Married an Axe Murderer, and he was.
Yeah, he's been wrong.
Yeah. I was watching So I Married an Axe Murderer, and then Alan Arkin's in there. I was like, oh man, this just made me think of The In-Laws.
Yeah.
I was like, fucking love Alan Arkin.
I'll tell you what, it's still one of my favorite ones that I picked. I love that movie.
Yeah, that was great. I'm so happy you picked that one because I never realized how fucking amazing Alan Arkin is until I saw that. Good. One of the funniest characters in a movie, hands down.
So good. So this side conversation shows you how important Mr. Wu is in the remake. Actually, he is kind of important. I don't really understand how they brokered that meeting where they kind of meet at the restaurant. And
Yeah,
Mr.
I
Wu-
don't. I didn't remember that either. Like they were just randomly at this restaurant all of a sudden. I didn't know if like Keanu like called anybody or what like messaged anybody on the internet. It's like all of a sudden we're just showing up at this restaurant and now I need to talk to this guy.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
just came out of nowhere
And,
for me.
and he's got like an assistant that doesn't know what's going on. You know what I mean? And it's like,
Yeah, Jennifer Connelly's like, "Are you one of them?" He's like, "What are you talking about?" It's like,
Yeah.
you don't know that these are fucking aliens? Get the fuck on board.
talking to an alien. But you know, we don't get a lot out of James Wong, Mr. Wu, but what we do get is hey, I'm an alien too.
Mhm.
I've lived amongst the humans for some time, Klaatu. Kind of like him. And Klaatu's like, you have to leave or you'll die. And it's like, you know,
That's
whatever.
pretty good.
Like, yeah, I'm cool. Live a full human life, which isn't much in our world, but actually, if you ever try it, it's kind of fun.
You yourself called them a destructive race.
That's true. But still, there is another side. You see, I love them.
So, you know, it's backstory, strange backstory. Not sure why there's another alien. Not sure why they didn't have this conversation earlier. Or why that alien's choice is not even remotely considered. Like, what is Klaatu higher ranking? Is he more important? I don't get it.
It is confusing because now you think about it. I'm just going to the reasons Klaatu changes his mind. We could maybe say it starts here at this meeting with this other alien. Like he's saying, like, you know, humanity's fucked, but I kind of like it. Okay, I'll take that into consideration. And then he meets, you know, Professor Barnhart, who really says, like, we're not fucked. We can fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then he still has to see Jennifer Connelly and Jaden Smith kind of piece it up, and then that's when he decides, okay, humanity's worth saving because of these three separate events. I don't know. It's a scene that could have been cut easily, and the movie wouldn't have lost any momentum.
Not even a little bit. Honestly, the scene is sort of a speed bump. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What? Why? Why is he an alien? But you're right. If you cut that scene out of the movie hums along just fine without any change. You'll just be confused at why like James Wong's looking up into like the skyline at the end of the movie. But you wouldn't even be confused because he's in every movie. So,
You're just like, oh shit, James Wong's in this movie. Awesome.
Great. Yeah. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't think I need to get it. And I'm moving on. Because then like the question was like, you know, you got all these spears. How many times have they done this? How many aliens are among us?
Right.
You know what I mean? That's not a question the movie's actually asking. So
right.
Why are they presenting this to me?
Yeah, that's all it made me wonder is like, well, how many more aliens are on Earth? And I was just like, are we going to run into more aliens? Is that going to be a thing that happens in the movie? And it is never addressed again.
Never addressed. Never addressed. All I know is that a bunch of spears have, you know, examples of human life. And Regina Jackson, Kathy Bates' character, was like, it's an arc. And you know what that means? The flood.
The flood.
Thanks, Regina Jackson.
Well, there is one more character in the remake. I don't know if we want to talk about him. Sort of another character actor who is in like a bunch of films, and I'm like, who's that guy again? Yeah. What's that fucking guy's name? He was in the recent like King Kong Godzilla movies. He was in Wolf of Wall Street.
Kyle Chandler.
Yeah, I think that's the guy.
Okay, yeah.
You want to talk about him for like the 2 seconds he's in the film?
Yeah. Honestly, because like I remember him in Wolf of Wall Street now a bunch of times.
Yeah. Can you say that again? So my friend can hear. Oh, he's good at Wolf of Wall Street.
He's so good. He's like, Shit. He is a great character actor.
Yeah.
I almost left him out, but you're right. We kind of need to talk about him because he has one of the coolest, shortest arcs. So there's a point where they have Gort, who's definitely not Groot, and they're trying to like drill through him with like a diamond-tipped drill to figure out how does this Gort thing work. And you've got basically the equivalent of like a red shirt. You've got a guy who's like tasked with like setting up the drill, and we recognize that Gort has like released these little like nanobot things off of him.
Yeah, he's not like a solid machine. He's actually comprised of like a bunch of tiny, like microscopic, like insect-looking things, and then that's what it just comes into a shape like a humanoid robot that's huge, and then these little microorganisms that are like mechanical or something. I don't know.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they get like all over everything, and then they just start to like destroy and eat, and you know,
almost like
disintegrate.
robot locusts, you know?
Yeah.
And you get this horrific scene of the guy that's supposed to like put the drill on, and he's realizing that the drill's been eaten through by these little robots, and he's stuck. And they're like, "Whoa!" So then Kyle Chandler's character, John Driscoll, who's kind of like a lieutenant or something like that,
high government guy, but you know he's bad because he's government.
Yep, he's a suit. John Driscoll was like, "Don't let him out." I don't care. Don't let him out. And you watch this guy like eating from the inside, and he just starts bleeding out.
You have this other military guy at the same time. It's like, get him out of there. And then Driscoll's like, nope. We're stealing it. Yep. Keep him in there.
He's like, I'm with the feds. I have rank here. Which he probably doesn't. So he allows a man to die. And once that happens, he's like, and they realize like the glass is starting to crack. They're like, we gotta burn it. And they hit the I forget the word, but it's like they hit the button.
They don't hit it. He hits it. He hits like an incinerator button that like just lights the room on completely on fire.
It's a flash button. Like you flash, fire just shoots up, and the robot
kind of like Solaris, right?
Hey.
Yeah. Nice. We're going back to all our old episodes in this one.
Hell yeah. Actually, we're going to be doing a back to the episode soon. Awesome. You know, like, I mean, it's not awesome. It's horrific, but like, that guy died. He hit the big red button, and then the fire comes up, and it's not enough. Gort's still kicking. And in fact, now their room is starting to get like penetrated by these robot locust things. And Kyle Chandler's Driscoll character is like, let us out of here. And the military guy is saying, like, no, we're locked in. No one gets out.
We're all sealed in here. And he takes like a noble stance as he's about to die, while fucking Kyle Chandler's character is just kind of like clawing at the door, like, let me out, man. I don't want to die. And then it's just like, boom, they all fucking get eaten by these locust things.
Yeah. It's a fun scene in the sense of like, the stakes are finally presented to us.
Yeah.
Kyle Chandler does this thing, and like it's hard for actor to do this. It goes from being like tense and like scary to kind of like comedic, but also tense and scary. You know, and I think he consistently plays that well, like kind of like the square jaw guy was like, I know what's going on, and then you know there's that moment, and he's really good at that. So I'm glad you brought him up. That was a fun 20 seconds of the movie.
If you want to see Kyle Chandler get destroyed by alien robots, then this is the film for you.
This is the film for you. So it happens. Yeah, that's I think that's a nice kind of segue into our respective endings.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. So I guess we should talk about the original.
Yeah, I think we should start with the original first.
All right.
I could kind of kick it off.
Yeah, you're good at these.
All right, so at this point, like I said before, Klaatu had his demonstration of power, where literally like our power was turned off for like 30 minutes. He's stuck in the elevator with Mrs. Benson, kind of explaining things to her. This is when he kind of comes clean, like, yeah, kind of am an alien, and yeah, we're gonna be here for a while. So let me get to introduce myself. So they get to talking, and then she's like, all right, we got to get you back to the ship. But like I said, in addition to this, getting all the scientists together, his demonstration of power got all the government, you know, like fucking scared shitless, and now we got to get this alien. So there's this like an intense. Well, first of all, I just want to say, while the power's out, it's like this great kind of like, let's go around Earth and just see how like everybody's like been affected by the power going out. And I like this one scene where like this guy's trying to milk a cow with this device. He's like, I can't milk my cow. What's happening here? So it's slightly comedic, certainly by today's standards, but I enjoyed it nonetheless. Just seeing the power go out. Anyways, after the power is restored, the two of them are going to the crash site, or not the crash site, the landing site, just to get Klaatu back to his ship. On the way, Klaatu realizes, like, oh shit, there's a lot of military guys on our way there. They're all looking at us. So I don't know if this is going to end well for me. So I'm going to say 3 words to you, Klaatu, Barada, Nikto, and you better say them in case it does happen to me, because Gort, you don't play. He's gonna fuck shit up. So you better say these 3 words. And he's like, repeat them. She's like, all right, Klaatu, Barada, Nikto. He's like, great, great, great. They're driving, passing more military guys. As they drive, the car stops, and then Klaatu gets out. He runs. I don't know what he was thinking, and he immediately gets shot. Yeah. He's fucked. It's like, oh no, what do we do? She runs to him. His body's just there. She kind of leaves. She goes to the ship. The government takes Klaatu's body to like some facility, whatever. She eventually gets to the ship, and then Gort is just like, what the fuck? I'm gonna fucking kill all humanity. He kills the 2 guards that are there. You know, he just has lasers, as far as I could tell. This is power, I guess, in this original film. So he just, you know, zaps them with lasers. They just disintegrate. He demonstrated this power earlier in the film when he kind of just like disintegrated like some tanks and some other stuff.
Yeah, he took like all their guns and stuff like that.
Just destroying things, you know, with ease, as an alien species with advanced technology would do. So, you know, eventually Mrs. Benson shows up there, and she's all by herself. And then luckily, Gort is very slow in approaching her and not destroying her right away, because she takes her sweet ass time saying those 3 fucking words. Yeah. But she eventually does say, you know, Klaatu, Barada, Nikto, and then, you know, he's about to kill her. He doesn't. Instead, he takes her on board the alien ship, leaves her there, goes and gets Klaatu's body, brings that back to the ship, and then hits a bunch of buttons and pretty much brings Klaatu back to life. Mrs. Benson is freaking out. She's like, what? I can't believe are you alive? It's like, what's happening? He's like, I am alive, but it's only temporary, and we don't know how long I'll be alive, but I am alive for now. You good? You good? I am alive for now. So then he goes outside, like everybody's there, military, the scientists are there. Klaatu comes out, he's got his alien space suit on him too, and he's not the helmet, you can see his face. And then he says his message pretty much, and it's kind of the thing that he's pretty much been saying the whole time. He's like, you know, you got all this technology and you have all the ways to do everything, but you are destructive people, and you better get your shit together or else you are doomed. And I'm just going to leave you with that. So you take care of yourselves or else you're going to be destroyed. We're out of here. Peace. And then they pretty much leave. And that's pretty much how it ends. It's kind of, it's not this big action-packed climax. It's actually like very subtle and just like, you know, it's a bit of a lecture.
It's definitely a lecture.
As humanity, just like, you know, warning about now that we have this atomic energy to destroy each other, we better be responsible with it, or else we're gonna really pay. You know, it's like I said, Cold War is happening right now. You know, USSR and US just like in the arms race. So double meaning this ending, and it's you know, but it stayed on message at least throughout the whole film. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. And, you know, his last little message there basically describes it. You know, there's basically a robot police force. With Gort, and he's like, in matters of aggression, we have given them absolute power over us. So, like, the robots basically are in charge of keeping the peace. And he says, your choice is simple. Join us and live in peace, or pursue your present course and face obliteration. We shall be waiting for your answer. All right.
All right, we got time to think shit out. Let's discuss this as reasonable adults, and we'll just let you know what humanity decides.
You know, so I like it, right? Like you said, it is more subtle. It's not like this action-packed thing, but like Klaatu does the sacrifice where he's like, all right, I'm gonna give you guys a chance, and they immediately screw it up. You get the classic Klaatu Barada Nikto line, and I just think that like that ending of all right, you guys shot me twice. We're done. We're done with this. So here's the message. Figure it out, and I'm out. Like I thought it was a really cool. I thought it was a really cool ending. I really liked how that movie just kind of progressed and went through its paces to that sort of, like you said, it was a lecture, but like a fun lecture, nice little monologue at the end.
I thought it was interesting, like for a couple reasons. One of them being, like you said, he got shot again and killed, and still he's like, you know what? We're not gonna kill you. It's okay. You guys fucked up like a couple of times by shooting me, but you know what? I don't want my cool Gort here to kill you all. I want you to like hear this message. Like that was my mission, not to destroy you, to give you this message, and that's what I'm doing. Even though you guys suck and keep shooting me, I'm just giving you this message. And I like that, and I just like that it wasn't like this big action, set piece for an ending. Like I liked how that original War of the Worlds, the complete destruction and everything. But I kind of like this one. It's like, well, this movie ends with a warning,
right?
And that's kind of how we're gonna do things. Because not all aliens that visit you are here to destroy you. This alien is here to give you this warning, and what you do with it is kind of what determines your fate. And I thought that was a really bold move, actually, for like an alien movie in the 50s, and I thought it was a pretty solid choice, actually.
I really like that the ending. I agree that it was a solid choice, and I can't remember this. I don't think the humans got to keep the little doohickey at the beginning. Like you could study all the planets. Like nope, not for you anymore, you jerks.
Yeah.
But no, like you're saying, like this idea, like everyone has this idea at the time of the aliens are coming, they're going to conquer us. They don't come in peace, and quite the opposite here. It's like I came in peace. You guys continue to choose violence, and that's your problem. And you can figure that out, or you can keep doing this, and it's on you. So like that warning message is interesting. And even though it's science fiction, it's actually true. Like you guys can blow yourselves up.
Yep.
But how's that working out? So I thought it was a really good ending. And like you said, the War of the Worlds ending was cool because like everything's the impending doom and stuff like that. But ultimately, it's just kind of like, man, the aliens got sick. So okay. What an act of God. Like this is the opposite. It's like the impending doom will come if you don't change your behavior. And I thought it was a really clean, finish to this story.
And also saying it's refreshing to see that like every alien movie doesn't have to have like massive destruction at the end before like things get resolved. Like this had like tension and there was definitely like death. Like Klaatu died, but like it ends kind of like on a high note. Like this is what has to happen, and you guys can save yourselves. So it kind of ends with like I said, like a little bit of a lecture.
Sure.
But not. It's refreshing because we don't need every alien movie to end with like a ton of destruction.
Yeah. It's like, in a way, because they do it so much, it's like, yeah, I really wish the aliens would just kind of hang out.
Yeah.
There's I'm drawing a blank on it, but there's a film, I want to say Hereditary or something like that, but there's a film where like it's about like a linguistics expert that like meets aliens and stuff like that. So
that was Arrival.
Arrival.
Yeah.
But like, there was some destruction stuff in that movie, but like I kind of like that the first approach was like, how do we talk to this person?
Yeah,
guy? Like that is refreshing when alien movies get out of the death and destruction zone.
Yeah,
so I agree.
And then our remakes ending.
This remake. So we met Professor Barnhart. We've met Mr. Wu. Keanu is like, I don't know. So basically, we catch up with Jacob. The kid has sold out the whole team. Jennifer Connelly is recaptured by the government, and for some reason, like you mentioned, Klaatu and Jacob are not. Because Klaatu can do magic stuff and make helicopters.
Yeah, we didn't mention that. The Klaatu in the remake has powers that he doesn't have in the original film. He has like electronical powers. Yeah. As long as he's able to kind of touch or somewhat touch electronics. He can kind of control them.
Yeah.
Our first demonstration of this is when he's sort of being interrogated and he's hooked up to, I guess, like one of the lie detector or something like that.
That's a cool scene.
A polygraph.
Yeah.
And so he like just touches it, and then the scientist who's reading the polygraph is like just completely like taken under his control, and then he's able to like give him all this information and just like follow his orders before he ultimately just like kind of either kills him probably. I don't know what he does, or just electrocutes him till he knocks him out. And then we also see another demonstration later, after Jennifer Connelly gets captured, when the helicopters have the sights of their guns on him, and for somehow he's able to go through the sight to control the helicopters and ultimately just get them to collide and explode. And he does one of those "I'm going to turn around as it explodes behind me" kind of things, which isn't cliche at all. So. So yeah, he has that power. And I also just want to mention one other thing. I think at this point he's already told Jennifer Connelly like the decision, like, "Oh yeah, you guys are done. I'm getting rid of all of you because you guys suck, and I am collecting other beings on this planet, but not you because humans suck."
Yeah. So like the twist is because he came here, and again his message has been ambiguous. He says, "I'm here to save the Earth." Well, the twist is the Earth from humans. Didn't mention that before. I was a little busy Klaatuing, So that was cool. And that other scene where he like just wrecks that guy with that car is pretty crazy.
Oh yeah, you can go into that. That's
yeah. Well, before, just another display of power before they meet Barnhart. Klaatu is pulled over by this cop who's like, "I got the guy the FBI is looking for." Kind of remind me of Bill Burr. And Klaatu's like, "I guess you got me. I'll just put my hands on this guy." I crushed that guy. Jay Smith's like, "You killed him." It's like, he sure did.
He sure did.
And he rubs a little space placenta on him, zaps him with the other car, and that guy's alive again. His bones reset in a really gross sequence. So this Klaatu has powers that, if you're gonna have him, maybe we should use him more throughout the movie, because
but it brings up an interesting question, because at that point Jennifer Connelly's like, "Well, you say you want to destroy humanity, but why'd you save this man?" "Well, he was just in the way. No point in senseless killing." It's like, yeah, but you're still gonna kill us all. I mean, what difference does one dude make? So yeah, again, mixed messages with this Klaatu.
A lot of mixed messaging. So
his explanation did not make me go, wait. He's still like contradicting himself
to the mission. It's like, aren't we all?
Yeah.
But after Klaatu explodes all that stuff, Gort escapes. So we're back with Kyle Chandler when he gets robot locust, and then Gort basically gets attacked again by the military, which just makes him bigger and scarier.
So at this point, Gort is no longer like this robot humanoid figure. He's just the locust. So just CGI tiny dots going to everything and making it disappear, and then as he grows. Yeah.
So he grows. He pretty much eats anything in his wake, whether that's electronics, whether that's a human, anything that this swarm touches gets all screwed up. And that's when the end game has set in. There is no way to stop them. They've tried Sidewinder missiles. They've tried drone strikes. That don't work. They tried the flash fire. That didn't work. So now you just have a swarm, and there's a goofy line where it's like, "Well, where is he now?" Everywhere. Because Gort is a swarm of locust robots across the entire Earth that's randomly picking what he's eating at times. For a cool CGI effect, he'll chew up a truck that a guy's currently driving. I thought that was kind of cool. And this swarm is happening, and Keanu Reeves and the Kidders trying to make their way back to the sphere. Jennifer Connelly, for reasons that are dubious, is Regina Jackson, played by Kathy Bates, allows her to leave to try to convince Keanu Reeves to stop this destruction because they're out of options. They let John Hamm go with her because he was there, so you go. So John Hamm and Jennifer Connelly reunite with Keanu Reeves' Klaatu. They try to drive towards the site where the spear, which is the UFO they're in, is at. The military lets them through because the military is going to try to blow them up, which I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, you sent them there to do it, and then you tried to Sidewinder missile them, and you killed John Hamm. Everybody else is fine though. John Hamm is the only person that died in that like flip. Keanu gets out. They get out. They got little robot swarms on them, and oh no, like they've got robots in Jaden Smith, and he's dying.
Well, first they were trying to go back to the ship, but then there was too many of Gort's locusts, so then they had to like go somewhere else instead. And then it's while they're kind of taking refuge, that's when they realize like, oh no, Jaden Smith might die, and I'm like, all right, let's see how this plays out.
We got him. And Jennifer Connelly's got little robots in her too. Everyone's dying, and Keanu Reeves is like, not today, Claw 2. And he grabs their hands, the little robot thingy start going into him. I'm not sure why he's not able to like call off the dogs here, but yeah, whatever. So now Keanu has sacrificed kind of himself. He walks through the swarm and touches the ship. Which then makes all the little like Gorts just stop. They just fall where they are, and there's no more Gort bots. So the destruction is stopped, and you might have to help me out here because I know that they stopped attacking everyone, eating everyone. I don't recall a cool monologue like in the original.
No,
I think it's kind of like leaves.
Yeah, the kid just kind of leaves. Jennifer Connelly and Jacob kind of survey the landscape, which is covered in like a bunch of mechanical little locust things, and I think it just kind of ends.
Yeah. It's like someone's like, "Oh no, it's moving." It's like, no, they're departing. You know. So yeah, Keanu Reeves may or may not die from Gorts in his system. He just leaves. He's given humanity another opportunity.
But at a price. Because he had warned before, there is a price to pay if humanity is saved.
What is that price, Dan?
That price is all the electronics are dead on Earth, pretty much. That's it. That was the price. I was like, that's it? That's all you had to do? Just kill our electronics? And I'm bringing this up because I brought it up for the original. They didn't specify in this one that it was only certain things, so it's all electronics. So people in airplanes, dead. People on life support in hospitals, dead. just throw that out there.
Hey, you know, and I don't know, like the electricity is currently not working, but like they'll figure it out. Like,
yeah, it doesn't seem like such a horrible price to pay. Like, the way he stated it earlier in the movie, it seems like, wow, humanity's gonna have to really do something really fucked up in order to survive. Oh, you just can't have electricity probably for a while. You could probably figure out how to get it back, but I don't know. It's never explained to us, so we don't really understand, like, you know, the weight of, like, what just happened here.
Right.
Like, is this, like, are we fucked? Like, no electricity forever? Is this a temporary thing? I don't know how to feel right now. Okay.
Yeah, and that's kind of like the feeling that I generally just get from the film. I don't know how to feel about any of the stuff that I saw.
Yeah.
And that's a strange feeling because like I literally like I remember he touched the ship and then like it kind of just goes blank in my memory. Like I don't really recall. It's like we were talking about that cool speech in the original movie, you know, the message to humanity and stuff like that. And I was like, I don't think they did that. And you're right. They didn't.
So it's funny because like, okay, so humanity's supposed to save itself like at this price, so we don't have electronics. But did he ever convey that message to world leaders in the remake? Yeah, I don't know. So it's like I feel like as soon as humanity figures out how to get electricity back, we're pretty much going back on the same course that we were before, and we're probably going to get another visit from Klaatu.
Right, and you know, like I guess we have to rely on like Jennifer Connelly and Jaden Smith to be like, here's what the alien kind of meant by all this. I don't think that that's going to happen. The other side of it is when you look at it, I think as a military or like a government, you just have to interpret like the aliens came, destroyed our power grid, and bounced. Like that's an act of aggression. That's an act of war.
Yeah.
Not sure what that lesson was, other than like, hey, we should try to figure out what these aliens are so we can destroy them or something. Like that's what
or just better. How do we better ourselves to prevent this from happening again? No, I think the first step is like, well, how do we prevent this from ever happening again? We got to build up our defenses. We need more military, more weapons, more aggression.
Let's reverse engineer these gorts lying on the ground. You know, like I don't know. You want to talk about muddy ending? I don't even know what that was. So
it seems so weird. Like you brought it up before. It's like for some reason he can't get the Gort locust to stop, and for some reason him touching his ship stops it. Like that's not explained at all. I mean, you talked about how he fought to get the Klaatu Barada Nikto back in the film. I feel like if he just said that, or like maybe he has to say it in his ship, that would have made more sense than I just have to touch my ship.
If you went in the ship, you saw the inside of the ship, which we have no idea what it looks like. He gets on a little like microphone thing and he's like Klaatu Barada Nikto. It was like that would have been lit.
It would have made more sense than like just touching the ship, because like there was a point they were going to the ship. He said, "There's too many of them. We need to hide." Like you could have just kept running towards the ship and touched it then. Instead, you ran under this bridge and then you had to run back. You just made that shit last longer than you were already there. Why did we take this sidetrack for a minute?
It's like
confusing.
Like the locusty things would have been there the whole time. So like, how long are you gonna be on the bridge? Like, isn't it just gonna come to the bridge and eat the bridge? Like, you were kind of close, and you seem to be doing okay with the locust. No, the kid isn't, but like we don't care about the kid, obviously. I don't know, like they just made some strange choices with framing this ending, and that's one of them. Exactly what you just described, which is we're right there, but we can't go that way. There's too many locusts, so we're going like 20 steps in this direction. Go figure that one out. Go figure out what the ship does, figure out how it flies, figure out all that stuff. Hey man, look, as goofy as like a David Bowie jumpsuit is, and a big, fishbowl on your head, we got to see the inside of the ship. That was cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
We got to see Gort work out some some buttons and dials. I like that.
Got to see Klaatu come back to life. I mean, I dig it. Come on, man.
Yeah, man. These are big moments. So I still prefer, obviously, the original ending. But this movie did what it did, and we saw it.
Very poignant. Very poignant. Yeah, that's how each respective film ended. I don't know if there's anything else we need to discuss. I'm trying to think if there are any other major differences or discussion points.
I mean, I know you're a music guy, but it seems pretty much just like kind of your standard orchestral score in both films.
The original had a little more use of the theremin, which is very common in the Alien movie. Yeah, exactly. I don't believe I heard any theremin in the remake. So musically, they did what they did, and as we mentioned before, if we don't really recognize the music, then the music's probably doing the right thing.
Yeah.
So
So that was it. But I don't think there's much else, because like at the end of the day, as complicated as I think the remake tried to make it, it's a very straightforward story.
Yep.
Alien comes on Earth, humanity's messing up. Here's your warning. Humanity doesn't want to heed the warning. Here's your warning in a different way. And see ya. You could add elements of John Hamm and step son, ain'ts if you want, but you could focus on the alien. So that was that. Is this the part where we say, Dan, should this remake exist?
All right, I'll start with just discussing the original film. Like I said, I'd never seen it, and I do like what they did in that original film. It was an alien coming to Earth with the threat of violence and destruction without necessarily, leading up to that violence and destruction. We never got the violence and destruction that was potentially promised. And I thought that was an interesting take for an alien movie, because I've seen a lot of alien films, and they often end with this huge climax of like war and like destruction, and it was pretty refreshing to see that in the original film, that no, you know what, we're gonna follow this alien and he's just gonna go on tour with this little boy and you're gonna like it. And if you told me that, I would be like, get the fuck out of here. But yeah, I actually liked it. I had a good time watching Mr. Carpenter, as he called himself, just walking around Washington with little Bobby there, and just, you know, a different take on an alien coming to Earth. And I thought it was really refreshing. So I was really excited, like, oh man, I can't wait to see how the remake handles this. And then what I got was that cliche massive destruction alien ending that I was happy they didn't do in the original film. And I was like, oh, this sucks. So I didn't like that. I definitely didn't like Jaden Smith's Jacob. You know, I don't hate Jaden Smith as an actor. I actually liked him in the Karate Kid remake. All he is a whiny brat in this film. Keanu Reeves does a decent job as like an alien with no emotion, because Keanu Reeves is really good at that. I mean, I love Jennifer Connelly in every role, but it's a pretty forgettable role that she's in here. It missed the mark for me in so many ways. And I feel like a lot of what made that original work, they've just like, fuck that, we need a huge action piece at the end, or otherwise this movie's not going to reach audiences. And I feel like by adding that, you're just kind of shitting all over that original source material. It didn't make sense to me that like that Gort just now all of a sudden has to be this destructive thing that just goes around destroying everything. It's like, really? It's like, what happened to the message of the original film, that like we get a warning first, and now you're just gonna all of a sudden just be that cliche alien that just goes around destroying humanity? I didn't like that. I feel like they changed too much, and it didn't work for me. So at the end of the day, I'm gonna say no. This remake should not exist.
Yeah, just kind of picking up where you're coming from. Like I said, when I first saw the Day the Earth Stood Still, it was from film class. It was the reason we were watching it, because like, it is an iconic film, and like you said, the way that they approached the alien story was different, noticeable enough that like in a sea of movies like this, and I mean, we've done War of the Worlds, for instance, this movie stands out. I do like the more just, you know, the quieter parts of the film, you know, like this guy looks in his jacket, he says Carpenter. I guess I'm Carpenter now. He's interacting with people, and like they're sitting there talking to an alien. They have no idea. You know, he is kind of a strange fellow, but like, you know, he fits in enough. And to your point as well, like just the idea of an alien kind of going to DC and getting a tour from a kid is kind of cool, man. Like, it's a really cool sequence. So I just thought that like that original movie is so original. That was awesome. The remake, I think, is trying to fill in blanks where we don't need to, right? Like, we don't need to know that Keanu Reeves' character is a clone from a 1924 guy in Antarctica. You're already going to tell us that these are in other places, so why do I care that the spear is in Antarctica, right? Plus, I don't even know what the spear is at that point. Even when it does land and it's basically the same thing, it's like, I don't even know if that really registered to me. Like, that's a ship. That's not what a spaceship typically looks like. Making the kid so unlikable was a bad choice. Connelly, you know, tries to salvage this thing, but you know, her role's not big enough to do it. Keanu is doing exactly what he was tasked to do, which was to be, you know, effectively nothing. Like, he's supposed to be this blank slate, and he pulled that off, but there's not enough weight being pulled around him for that to work. The Mr. Wu part's confusing. Like you said, are we going to the ship? Are we going to somewhere else? And we're talking like that was confusing. His flip-flopping about killing humans or not killing humans was confusing. So ultimately, we just kind of got this like jumbled sort of mess that you know, it was serviceable as kind of like an action-y film, but just so like devoid of like real substance that like it's not a great movie. So ultimately, yeah, this remake shouldn't exist because it doesn't do anything well that the original movie didn't do itself, other than like action pieces and CGI, which are fine, you know, but like meaningless without a real story. So yeah, it shouldn't exist. Still kind of like watching it because I like these people, but I didn't really like watching it because it wasn't a good movie.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah. So
Just bring up you mentioned like Klaatu, like Keanu Reeves does a great job being that blank slate. The problem with that is he already kind of made up his mind. Like, I'm gonna destroy humanity. So it's like you can have him be a blank slate, but like don't have him already with his mind made up. Like have him like interact with like, you know, we can have him interact with the negative government evil people and then have him interact with the good scientists and like have that like conflict. But you never really have that conflict. He's already like, no, you're fucked. I don't like you people. You're gonna die. I already got the arc set up. You're all gonna die. And you know, it's just Keanu does a good job, but it's like the way they use his character didn't really complement, I guess, what he brought to that character.
Sure. I think that had they have made different choices with the Jacob character in the film, like instead of making him so antagonistic towards his mother, his stepmother, I think like little scenes like Keanu Reeves, like, what are you eating? It's called ice cream, like, and then he eats ice cream. It's like, wow, that's something we don't have on my planet. Something as goofy and tropey as that, like, take this into another level, and they refuse to make the fish out of water story. They just make the fish that wants to drain the ocean, and like, you know, like that. That's basically the story, and I'm just not sure why they went that route.
Yeah, it's so weird because there is one moment in the remake where he hears some Bach, and he's like, "Wow, I didn't know humans could do this. This is actually really amazing." So maybe you know, have more moments like that. You know, like, but we don't, not at all.
It's like if they started kind of like the original film where like he was there to like give humans a chance, and then at every turn they're kind of like shooting him and stuff like that, and he's like, I'm conflicted because I came here to do this thing, but this is how you guys behave. And Connolly and like the kid and the professor trying to convince him, no, we're not all like this. That's more compelling than this. Because like you said, his mind was like, he knew what he was going to do in the opening sequence. So like when they shot him, that wasn't necessarily the worst plan, you know?
It's actually a pretty good plan.
Yeah. I guess the Gort would have still gored it, but I mean, I don't know. Maybe he wouldn't have. You know? It's just kind of confusing in a way that is unexcusable because it's like not that complicated of a story.
All right. Well, that's our verdicts. Let us know in the comments what you think. Do you agree with us? Do you disagree with us? Did we miss anything? Let us know. For now, we got to pick our next episode. So you picked this. We've been doing kind of some serious movies. We did this. We did Justice League. I'm thinking maybe. All right. So for the next episode, you know, our next episode is actually our 50th episode, Reggie. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
I did not know that either.
I thought we were at 49. I'm so confused.
So we're going to do a couple things. We're going to do an episode, a regular episode, and then we're actually going to have a special episode as well, where we discuss kind of our favorites that we liked and the ones that we didn't like as much. But the next episode that we do, I think it's 50, Reggie. We got to go big. I think we should do Robocop.
Wow. Robocop. Murph.
Murph.
All right. Look, 50 episodes is a big deal.
Yeah.
It's landmark stuff for us. And I mean, Robocop, you can't go bigger than that.
Yeah. So. All right. So next episode, Robocop.
Yeah. Citizen, stand back. Yeah. Love it.
You have 10 seconds to comply. All right. I'm Dan Bulick. If you're listening on YouTube, be sure to give us a like and subscribe if not already. If you're listening on iTunes, if you give us a 5 stars, or that would be greatly appreciated.
And as always, you can find us at Retro versus Remake on Instagram. We're on Spotify. We're on iTunes. Pretty much anywhere you're going to get your podcast. As always, we appreciate you liking our stuff. Please rate, comment, where you can. Is there a film you want us to do? Is there a film you absolutely hate that we did? Let us know. And any feedback is always welcome. Yeah.
I'm Dan Bulick.
I'm Reggie Parker.
This has been another episode of Retro versus Remake.